Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to be talking about one of the most common, but also one of the most broad questions I get across all of my social media, which is how to create a cosplay plan. How do I set up my thought process to ensure that the project is a success? Now, like I said, this is a pretty broad question, but also a very important one, especially for beginners. When you look at a character design, sometimes it can feel incredibly overwhelming, so daunting because there's so many different elements and so many things going on. You might be having a million thoughts at once, like where am I going to get these materials? How much do I need? Where am I going to find these shoes? Am I going to get a wig? And on top of all that, you might have a deadline that you're working towards. And honestly, it can feel so overwhelming that you end up never even starting. And by the way, just as a note, you can totally purchase your costumes. You can commission them from an artist, but for the purposes of this video, I'm going to assume you're going to be making at least a pretty big majority of your cosplay, just because that's my style, that's what I'm most familiar with and what I feel that I can speak on. So yeah, today I'm going to walk you through my thought process when I'm starting a project, how I break down the cosplay into real, tangible steps that feel manageable and keep me on track. So the first thing I do when I'm starting a new project is open up this program called Milanote. And this is basically just a program that helps you break down your thoughts visually. I am not sponsored by them, I just really like to use them. So I'm going to show you the one that I made for my Sabine cosplay from the Ahsoka TV show. Okay, so this might look really crazy right now, but trust me, this helps me organize my thoughts. The first thing I do, always, is upload a high-res photo of the character over here on the side, or multiple photos if you can't find a full body reference picture. All you really do is you just go into add image, you upload it from your computer, and then you can drag and drop it anywhere on the board. And once that's uploaded, the first thing I do is literally just jot down everything that comes to mind. Don't worry about it being too detailed, just go. This is basically like a stream of consciousness. And if you're like me and you like to keep things a little organized though, you can put them into categories like hair, armor, flight suit, helmet, just to keep it like a little bit separated. So as you can see, I have hair and I immediately wrote down a couple of ideas about what I wanted to do with it. As you can see, I crossed out wig later. But the point of this step is just to write down anything that comes to mind, anything that you think is going to be helpful. The armor, I'm looking at it and immediately my thought is that I'm going to want to 3D print it. So I have that down here. And I also jotted down a place where I've seen the files for sale. You can see, same thing with the flight suit, just jotting down a couple of notes, helmet, belt, any props that I'm gonna need, I put here. And you can break this up however you want. Basically, this is just you looking over here, taking notes of anything that you think is going to help you in the next steps. Next, I look at all of my notes and figure out what I call pathways. Pathways to me are different tracks of things that I need to do. For example, the armor pathway is going to entail totally different stuff than the sewing or soft goods pathway. And this is totally subjective to what your character is and what kinds of things the cosplay is going to entail. So if this costume had incorporated lots of EVA foam or Warbler or maybe electronics, lights, motors, etc., I would have had that in a separate pathway. We're basically just taking our notes and breaking it up into main categories of things that we need to get done. So now I can see that this costume, despite it seeming really complex at first, is really only two main pathways, the armor and the soft goods, plus some things that I need to purchase. And now that we have the pathways, we can start making to-do lists. I love a to-do list, and this is where we actually start to get into a progression. So for example, on armor, you can see up here that I have my checklist of things that I need to 3D print. And the way this program works is that you can create these checklists right in here. So when you check them off, like it literally just grays them out. And you can see everything that you've gotten done in this step. And so this makes it really easy to see fully everything I need to 3D print before I move on to the next step. And then you can see the next step in this pathway actually is painting. For me, I know that that means sanding, priming, painting, all that stuff. Like the helmet and the breastplate, I consolidated into one item. But you can see here, I just have the same items again. And as I was working on this costume, I was just checking them off as I did them. And these to-do lists really just make each step feel really manageable. And yeah, same thing down here for the soft goods. You can see I started out with the materials that I need to get for all the soft goods, the flight suit and the belt and holster. And what I really like about this program is that you can put all kinds of different notes onto your board. So you can put links, you can put comments, you can put images. So I put some pictures of different fabric swatches that I wanted to order samples for. I have like the prices, and you can also leave comments here. So after I'd gotten the swatches, I made a choice and I wrote it here just so that I knew what I went with. And then you can see the next progression in this pathway is the mock-up, the final pattern, and then actually creating the final elements, the pants, the vest, and the shirt, out of my actual fabric. Yeah, and we'll get to this in a second, but that's that pathway. Same thing for purchasing. I have a list of things that I need to buy. I ended up thrifting the boots and the black undershirt. Now this program is also great for doing things like making little mood boards of the colorways that you're going to use. This armor in particular is really colorful, so I just wanted to make sure that I kept the right shades in mind while I was looking for paints, while I was mixing colors for airbrushing, all that kinds of stuff. I even have notes about what kinds of weathering I wanted to do. You can also add in sketches, little doodles of things that are going to help you along the way. And then finally, I had everything kind of converging, all my different pathways here into last steps. Just, before this costume was considered done, I wanted to weather and do clear coat, do all the attachments, install the visors, all of the last kind of mini things. Another thing I wanted to show you is that I did this little cost breakdown over here. Of course, you can always do this in a separate Google sheet or a spreadsheet, but it's cool that you can do it right inside the same program. And it has all the same functions like sum and difference, so you can really easily add up all of the costs of materials and things that you bought for this particular project. So this cosplay was not on a firm deadline. I wasn't making this for any convention in particular, so I don't have many dates on here, but if I wanted to, I could put a little timeline up here or something, just with key dates along the way leading up to my event, so that visually I can see, hey, when I'm working on these beginning stages of each pathway, I should be around this date. And when I'm working on these pathways, I should be around this date. This is just the way my brain works. It works very chronologically, and I like to break things down into smaller steps that feel more manageable. So this flow really works for my brain. And overall, I just think it's really helpful to be able to look at things from kind of a bird's eye view and see the whole process from start to finish, just to make sure that you don't leave too many things to do at the very end. I think what really tends to happen a lot is that people don't write down everything before they start. So as they're working on it, they keep thinking, oh, I'm getting closer to the finish and I'm really close and I'm almost there. But as you just do more stuff, the more things pop up that you maybe didn't even consider before. So that end goalpost keeps shifting because there wasn't that bird's eye view to begin with. And I make one of these boards for every single costume I do pretty much. There are a lot of tools that do similar things to Milanote, but I just like that it's free and it's easy to use. Again, not sponsored, but I love it and I've been using it for years now. But of course, you could just also do the same exact thing with pen and paper. Okay, so now that I've talked about my visual planning board technique, I want to talk about some other resources. Something I always suggest if you're feeling a little bit lost at the start of a cosplay project is to just go on YouTube, Instagram, and search up to see if anybody else has done this cosplay, and maybe they made a post or they made a video about how they did it. The cosplay community is a community for a reason. Pretty much everything we do is learned through trial and error. So if you can cut out some of those errors and save yourself some time and money, why not learn from somebody else and follow in their footsteps a little bit? Of course, give credit where credit's due. If you followed somebody's tutorial or they really helped you along on your cosplay, give them a shout out when you post about it. If people are offering patterns or info for free, that's awesome. But if somebody is trying to make honest money by charging for files or patterns that they spent a lot of time and energy on, and trust me, they did, pay for them. Buy them through their Etsy or their Patreon or wherever they're selling stuff, because I promise you they put a lot of time and work into those files and patterns. Next is just kind of a general rule of thumb, regardless of what planning technique you're using. Always remember to break down your process into smaller and smaller parts until they're small enough that they feel manageable to you. It's so much easier to say, okay, this week I'm going to sew all of the Velcro onto my soft goods, instead of saying, okay, by the end of this week, I want to be 75% done my cosplay. Like, what does that even mean? And my final piece of advice would be to join some kind of group, maybe with your friends, but it can also just be a cosplay Discord. There are a ton out there if you're not a part of one already when you are starting a new project. And I recommend this for 2 reasons. Number 1, there might be somebody in that group that has done this exact same project or something really similar to it. And number 2, being in a group like that really does hold you accountable and keeps you on track. If you're somebody who's really not good at sticking to schedules, you can say in the group, okay, here are the elements of my costume that I want to have done by this date. And putting it out there for other people to see really can help you stay on track and in turn meet your final goal, whether that's wearing it to a convention or a friend hangout, whatever it is. Honestly, planning is one of my favorite parts of any cosplay project. This is just something that really clicks for me, like breaking down, this looks 3D printed, this looks like foam, this looks like this kind of fabric, and then searching for those fabrics and those materials online. Like, that stuff is fun to me. But regardless if you love this part of the process or you dread it, it is essential to get this really solid groundwork before you start your cosplay. Because as we all know, costumes can take a massive amount of work and they can take a lot of time. So making sure that you set yourself up for success at the very beginning is crucial. I hope you guys enjoyed this video and at least got a couple of tidbits and maybe some new information that you can use in your projects. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and I will see you guys next time.